it's Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and this is the 12 Days of Yule Challenge, and tonight's topic is sharing our winter glamours. So I wanted to talk a little bit about glamour magic. I don't actually do a whole lot, at least intentionally speaking, for glamour magic. What I do in tandem that kind of overarches visualization magic and glamour magic is a lot of visualization upon what I want my life to look like, what I want myself to look like, what is my ideal version of me. And I think sometimes with glamour magic, we think of let's make us beautiful, divas and starlets. And sometimes it's a matter of perception and, how we see ourselves, how we can, as a content creator, what attracts people to listen to yet another person talking about occult stuff on a YouTube channel. It's a matter of, am I just another pretty face? And sometimes, not for nothing, I can be a little judgmental on that. I'm like, well, I'd probably have, a lot more followers if I was a hot 20 something. I'm 48, still kind of hot, but I'm also a little bit older. But, no shade there, because I was young once myself too. I just did not realize I was hot. That came later. But it does show that when it comes to things like glamour magic, your state of mind and your perception play heavily on that. And especially as someone who does have some, maybe not the most significant amount of body dysmorphia, it's there. I mean, when I was, younger, when I was a teenager and stuff like that, I'm tall. I'm 5'9". I thought when I looked in the mirror, I was seeing Jabba the Hutt when I weighed like 128 pounds. That's, well, maybe about, let's see, I just lost 20 pounds. So let's do the math here. That would be like if I lost about 90 pounds off my current body weight. So, I mean, I was tiny. I was still tall, but I was tiny, much smaller boobs too. So, but my perception was, because I was always comparing myself to my hot, skinny, pretty friends and the popular girls and things like that. And I was negging my own self-worth and my own, sense of self. And, beauty standards be what they may. I mean, I came up in the 90s, and that's when that whole like heroin chic waif supermodel Kate Moss kind of look was going around. So yeah, so there was some really, and that's something that's been a constant, beauty standards being, but I like the way I look, and it's not to say that we can't enhance if we're going on the base level with glamour magic of making something appear more appealing. So what do I do for glamour magic in the winter? Good question. I don't, like I mentioned, I don't do a whole lot of glamour magic intentionally. Winter for me is always, there's two major issues for me in the winter. And that is, I am so busy because, I do online, I'm an online retailer. So it's my busy season. I am working nonstop most of the time. So I'm really busy and I don't have a lot of extra time to do a lot of winter specific things. I mean, once we get past Samhain, I'm pretty useless. That said, the other thing that happens is I also get seasonal depression as the, winter shopping rush or the holiday shopping rush goes down. It goes and goes poof with the seasonal depression. So, and that's kind of where I am right now. This year it is not as bad. I mean, I get my moments every now and then of just being like, ugh. Like today, I don't know what the gummy version of Wake and Bake is, but basically that's kind of what I did. I woke up, I'm like, to take one of my daytime gummies, and then I slept to 4 p.m. I think it was just my body needed to sleep. Sometimes, so a lot of it is in that sense listening to your body. So that's what I did for that. Yeah. So how would I use glamour magic to help with these things? Um, I think probably where I use glamour magic the most, would be in sort of the little things to make my products more appealing, my marketing more appealing, my graphics more appealing, stuff like that. We can kind of embed a little bit of that intention into, to make this thing like to be more desirable. So whether it's, the actual product itself, whether it is, the graphics or the photography I do for it. So that is a little bit of how I incorporate glamour magic, and it's something that I feel like I need to look into more. Um, I always say with magical processes, Rome wasn't built in a day. And one thing at a time. Like I can't pathwork the cliff off all the and the Goetia at the same time, and learn glamour magic and a new healing modality and something else like that. Like I have to kind of break things up differently so that I'm not just there becomes a point where you're doing too much. And like I'm gonna talk what I was a painter. So I've done oil painting. There's a point at which you work too much on something and on a painting and you end up with mud. In that you've blended too many colors together and you've just got these pukey grays and greens and browns, that it's too muddy. So sometimes you have to let up. You have to let you're like, okay, this thing needs some time to germinate. I'm going to leave this over here and then move on to something else. So in a sense, I do things like that where I'm like, okay, I've worked on this. I'm going to set this aside for a little and move on to the next thing. So I don't have a whole lot to add for glamour magic. I just wanted to talk about a little bit of how I incorporate things. I don't have particular spells or rituals that I do for it. Because again, for me, a lot of it goes into how I work with visualization magic. Because I find for me, as someone who has chronic insomnia and it can take me hours to fall asleep, even with all the nighttime sleepy aids in the world, it can still take me 4 hours to fall asleep sometimes. So, in that time of trying to fall asleep, I do a lot of meditation. I have my devotional prayers to the spirits I work with. I do some self Reiki. I communicate with the spirits I work with. And I also do visualization stuff because that was one thing earlier this year. Because I had so many constraints on my ability to practice due to moving that I was working a lot with Lucifer on is visualizing what what I want, what my future is, how am I going, what is it going to look like when I reach that goal? What is it going to look like when I am that person I truly want to be and have healed the things I need to heal? Or, I've manifested that soulmate relationship. What's that going to look like? And if you like a lot of times I just take a moment of imagining, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but imagining your soulmate wedding ceremony or something like that. What would you say? What does everything look like? What does all that entail? I'm visualizing it. There's a difference between fantasizing and visualizing. Visualizing is movement towards action, whereas fantasizing is like stuck in stasis and limerence of you're fantasizing about this thing, but there's no actions happening to facilitate that thing happening. So that to me is the difference. So between visualization and fantasy. Know the difference. So yeah, so for me, glamour magic is a lot of visualization. It's also too when I do a lot of astral travel work or out of body work, or I'm in my astral temple, that I can do glamour magic on the fly. There, I'll be like, well, I need to get from point A to point B. I'm going to become a dove or an owl and fly there, or something like that. So you could work with shape shifting, how your astral self looks. Astral disguises. You can do a whole, you don't, I mean, the sky's the limit there. So, where there are constraints in the mundane physical realm, that when you're in the spiritual realm, in the astral realm, that you can be anything you want to be. And you can be the most idealized version of yourself. So anyways, I'm just gonna keep this video a little shorter because I do have a couple more I want to get out the door. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on social media and sign up for our e-newsletter to keep abreast of all the awesome things we do every week. Thank you. Love you all.